Hi there. Welcome to the Intentional Optimist Unconventional Leaders Podcast guest speaker series. I'm Andrea Johnson, the Intentional Optimist, and I am here today with Fabienne Fredrickson. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We are doing this across the pond from each other. I am in Virginia. You are in France.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So she's in Paris. Yeah, I love telling my husband, like, I'm going to go talk to a woman now this morning in Paris. And he's like, can I go? So if you have not heard it yet, Fabienne is my latest guest on the podcast, and it is episode 114, and it's literally called, actually, You Can Have It All. And she tells her story. She gives some background on her business and her main focus, which is called Boldheart. I'm going to let her tell you about that in 1 second. And we do talk a little bit about her book, which we're going to get into today, and talk about how you can potentially grow your business as well. So, Fabienne, welcome. I love having women on here who can share their expertise, because we each have a unique thing that we do well. And so tell those who haven't yet listened to the podcast, because it just went live this morning. So pretty much anybody who's on here with us today has not yet listened to it, because it just went live a few hours ago. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, I'll give you the brief synopsis. I am, if for the lack of a better label, I am a business coach to women entrepreneurs. And I have been around longer than most, 21 years. And why is that relevant? Because I've had the great fortune of working with tens of thousands of women at this point, whether they've been in my programs, worked directly with me, purchased our products, or come to dozens of live 3-day events. I have been able to get under the hood, if you will, of so many women's businesses. And I have created a formula to get them to 10K a month consistently. But most importantly, my sweet spot, which is in the book that you were holding up, The Leveraged Business. My sweet spot is to take somebody who's already at 8 to 10K a month, so 6 figures a year, and to bring her to 20K a month, 50K a month, 75, 100,000 a month, which is over $1 million, but with 14 to 16 weeks of vacation a year, feeling fulfilled, doing her life's work, and staying feminine along the way.
Now, for all you women out there listening who are in business, how does that not sound appealing? The reason I wanted to interview her from the first place was literally all of that. It sounds wonderful. There are plenty of people out there who promise a formula. There are plenty of people who say, if you just do A, B, and C, but many of them only focus on systems, or many of them only focus on literally how you make your goals. And I think that to be able to say, we women do things differently, and I focus on that. Women do things differently. That's one of the reasons we're called unconventional leaders, is because we do things differently. And so that's one of the things I just really love about what you do. And I'm going to go here. You were just telling me before we hit go live that you were catching up with a client from 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Which I love that. I mean, I don't have any clients from 15 years ago, but I know that it's good to catch up with clients. And for you to be able to say, I take women from, I mean, there are plenty of us who'd still like to hit the 10K a month, right? And being able to say, this is where we are, this is how we're doing it, and doing it not just by selling things, or not just by hustling, but by doing our heart's purpose, right?
I won't say the woman's name, but I was able to take her 15 years ago from probably around 50. And when I just spoke to her a few minutes ago, she says, I've been hovering for the last several years between 350 a year and 375. I've gone to look at other coaches, and I'm back at Boldheart. The name of my company is Boldheart.com.
Right.
And she's like, because of the support, I miss the spiritual aspect of it. She said, Fabienne, I can go to $1 million, but it's not about the money for me. Where she goes, to the guys, we love the guys, but the guys are all about the money. And she's like, I just want to use my life. God, that
Mhm.
she used the word God. God wants me to do something. I just don't know what it is. And I said, you can monetize your reason for being. You
Mhm.
can. And for her, it's not about getting to 1 million or 5 million just to have another Lamborghini in her. She doesn't care about Lamborghinis. She wants to
Right.
be with her grandchildren. She wants to do her life's work. And
Mm.
that matters more than just, accumulating 5 million just for the sake of accumulation.
Yeah, and
And
as
most people don't
women,
get
I mean, right, and as women, and I love that the name of your company is Boldheart, and we'll put that up here at the end too, and of course, in the show notes of the podcast are all of your links. So, um, but as women, we tend to be moved by things that are not tangible. We tend to be moved by things that are a little bit less attainable, that look different. Like my son would be very excited to have the Lamborghini in the garage. I mean, he's
sure. There's
on the
room
way
for
to
that
school, he's
too.
like checking out every car and every driveway. And so, and every single Lego set is all like McLaren and Lamborghini and Ferrari and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying I wouldn't drive him with him, but I can't just do something for the money. I can't even do something because it's a good idea. I have to do something because I moved from within to do it. And I think that that's a really important piece that you bring to the table.
Yeah. In fact, it's part of the book right away. I talk about having a life's purpose, and I want to see how far I can take my service in the world. And if I get to be rewarded financially by it and then I give it back,
Yeah,
uh, and I do, all it's like a win 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 win.
I know.
Everybody wins. Nobody loses,
I know.
right?
So, for y'all, here's the thing. It's called the leveraged business. And if you go to boldheart.com, a little pop-up's going to come up. And of course, if you're like me, you're like, oh, okay, every business owner has a pop-up. But this one's a really cool one. It pops up and says, we'll send you the book for free if you just pay for the shipping. And they do. I took advantage of it. And it came and it's lovely. It comes with a bookmark with some other resources that are available. But I wanted to start, Fabienne, with just the beginning of the introduction.
Yeah.
And if I may read from your book, it says, it was in New York City, circa 2004, that I cried on the phone with a friend. We were talking about life purpose, and I remember sharing with her how deeply I wanted to know my purpose and use my business as a way of bringing my calling into the world. That hits us all right, literally in the heart. So
Yeah.
tell me how that launched you into everything else.
When it was just me, little Fabienne, as a business coach on the phone, 30 minutes a week, 3 weeks a month, I thought it was just about marketing and making money just so I wouldn't have to go back to corporate. That was 20 years ago. That was my friend Jessica that I actually used to work with in corporate.
Okay.
That's why it brings a little tear to my eye
Oh,
to have you reread that. And what I've realized is I working for somebody else, doing something that doesn't fill my heart felt empty.
hmm,
And when I started weaving in my life's purpose, when I started weaving in my spiritual way of showing up in the world, when I started weaving in mindset and looking at like, this isn't just about accumulating money, this is about making an impact, using my life, having it be so that the world is, however grandiose this sounds, the world is not, at least my little corner of the world is not the same since I've walked on this earth. That made it be, there's more about, it's more than just, yeah, just more than just making money. And so when the weaving in the reason for being in my own life, it stretched my goals because
mm.
the money. So when I first got to 1 million in my business in 2008, so this was 14 plus years ago, the reason it was okay for me to do that is because I realized for me to make that much money, I would have to impact that many women's lives.
Right.
And so when I multiplied that, so I've been up multiple seven figures for now the 14, 13 years,
Mhm.
it was about my reward was directly tied into how much I could leverage my unique brilliance and talent and abilities
Mm.
given to me from a higher source, a
We can
deeper,
say God on here. It's no problem.
I never tell people, from universe, from God,
Sure,
Godhead,
sure. Uh-huh.
to use that as a gift
Right.
to impact other people's lives. And then it was also okay for me to reward myself and my family
Right.
with abundance and love and experiences because I had given so much. It
Sure.
wasn't about just taking from people. And from that vantage point, I started talking about this more and more. And other women said, how did you do that?
Mm.
How did you get to 1 million and then multiple since
Mhm.
while having still a great marriage, while having 3 little kids who respect you, who wanna follow in your
Mhm.
footsteps, while being spiritual and taking so much time off? And I said, "You gotta tie it back to something that's meaningful, something that's fulfilling, something that's your reason for being." And then what I found is it helps women take off the foot off the brake and say, oh, if this is part of God's work or what the
Mhm.
universe wants for me, there's actually really no reason to stay small. And
Right.
this is what just happened with my former client who's coming back.
Mhm.
Is she said it wasn't about the money. I just needed to know my why. And I said, you don't need to know your why before you come into the program. Just come in.
Mm.
By virtue of being with me, your why will show up very
Right.
quickly. She's like, okay, then let's go to 1 million.
Yeah.
Before there was no reason. She was stuck at 353 to 75 a year.
Mhm. Well, you're the second coach in 2 weeks that has literally used the take your foot off the brake. I have another coach who said, "You're driving with your foot on the gas and the brake at the same
That's
time."
what I say. Yeah, I probably wrote about it in the book.
Cars don't go well that way.
No, and then with the handbrake up either.
So because we're just going to keep this about 30 minutes. I want to respect your time, but I definitely want to get into your book a little bit here. Granted, this is written to women who are already at the six-figure level and how to go to 1 million, right? But if I know you and I know principles, many of them will work for those of us who are not quite at that level yet. So I thought there's 8. I'm going to read here really quick. There's 8 major pieces in your business that you leverage. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah,
Based on the table of contents, because I've not actually finished reading this book. The first one is your team. You're going to leverage your systems, and some of this is like, oh, of course,
of
sure,
course.
right? Some
No
of it's
rocket
very
science here,
duh,
right? Yeah.
right? Your time, your business model, your marketing, your accountability, your differentiation, and your lifestyle. And so, out of those 8, if there were 3 that you could say to the newer business owner that's ready to get to that 8 to 10K a month, what are the top most important ones?
I would say, and by the way, there's a woman who got the book on Boldheart, and she showed up for a half day Zoom event with me the other day, and she said, "Oh, I just want to thank you. I was at 50K a year, and I got to 800K.
Oh,
No, sorry, it's the opposite. She was at 80K a year, and she got to 500K. She's from the Netherlands, and she's like, just from your book alone, I was able to get to a 500,000. So I was like, good for you.
this
Where
is
I will start
this
with
is
that.
reading before Christmas.
Yes. Thank you. And people, I just want to say one thing before I answer your question, Andrea, is that people are saying to me, why are you giving it away for free? Is this like some weird thing? And honestly, we all have been part of slick moves of marketers. I'm super transparent. The reason it's free is that, and I ask you to meet me halfway by paying the shipping, is because I want to give you results in advance. If you like it, and you want me to help you with it, then perhaps you'll join me in the program. It's super transparent. Now let's go back to I teach the first 4 activators, the first 4 chapters in the first year, and the second 4 in the second year. I'm
Okay,
going to talk about, if I can, I know you're asking me for 3. I'm
that's
going
fine.
to try to talk about the 4 first ones, and I'll do it rapidly, but I hope to
Okay.
give value here. We start with the team. Why? Because most people at that level, but even if you're making less than 8K a month and you're not yet at six figures, the way to have you grow more rapidly is to stop being the bottleneck and do everything yourself. Because you can't grow your business exponentially in between client appointments. So it's about removing yourself as the bottleneck. The way you do that, there's a bunch of different processes that I talk about in the book. One is figure out what your unique brilliance is and stop doing the stuff that you're incompetent at and
we all
just,
have plenty of that, right?
yeah,
We have plenty
everybody
of
does.
that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's no shame in it. So once you begin to delegate, first you need to know how to hire. Most people are hiring just to stop the bleeding as opposed to being super strategic. In the book, I talk about the 4 ways to hire: skill set, experience, but the most important 2 are actually not those. They are wiring and culture fit. And when you hire properly and you stop trying to save money and look for world-class people, even if you think you can't afford them, those people will start taking stuff off your plate so that you can then go focus on exponential growth activities. And then you give those people, even if it's one part-time virtual assistant, you give her money generating activities, right?
Yeah, that's what I
And
have.
yeah, that's how I started. And the way that I got to $1 million was still with a bunch of wonderful VAs, virtual
Okay.
assistants, but I just had more of them. I
Doing
had,
different things in their
yep,
strength. Yep.
exactly. And I had a virtual team of people, each good at like 7 different things. And you might say like, oh my God, Fabienne, that's expensive. That's so much to manage. Not really. When you hire properly, when you have so this is leverage your team. The thing I want to say about the book is it's an instruction manual, but first we work at the mindset. And with so many women, they'll say, I'll do it myself. Like I do everything at home. I do it, I do it myself because nobody else can do it better. Why pay somebody when I can, blah, blah, blah. There comes a time that what got you here won't get you there.
Right.
And you actually have to work less. And so that's leveraging a team. Once you leverage your team, you hire the right people with the right skill set, experience, but especially wiring, using assessments and culture fit. You can stop being the bottleneck after about 3 months, and you can stop helicopter, delegating, and instead you can let go because you can have them work on systems. So most of us grew to wherever we are, flying by the seat of our pants. All hands on deck. We'll do everything ourselves. We're wired to start new things but not finish them. And when you can hire people who will finish what you start, everything changes. But then it's not just about finishing what you start or making money. It's about creating repeatable processes and systems for everything. Now, again, most of us are not wired to think this way, and we've rebelled around systems and processes. But when you realize that systems bring you freedom, when everything, I was in New York a couple of weeks ago. I walked into this ballroom to teach a room full of women business owners, and the flowers were exactly the way I used to have them, pre-COVID. The tables were exactly how I had them. Everything is documented. So literally, Andrea, I can just walk in, plug in my laptop, and we're ready to go because we are now at Boldheart, and I want every one of us here today to eventually get to this place. We are a process-driven company. Now, when it's just you in the beginning, you think it's about you. But to grow to multiple 6 and 7 figures, the mindset shift that needs to happen is that you are the leader of a process-driven company, even if it's just you and a VA. And the way that you create a process-driven company is by having systems for everything. Everything is documented, but you're not the one documenting the systems. Your new
That's
team
I
is.
think that's the important part because, I have a VA and then I have, a podcast producer as well, and, so trying to document systems, I might document them, and then they both look at them and say, "What does this mean?"
What does
And
that
say,
mean?
feel free to do whatever. This is the end result. This is how it works for me. And I've had to step back and say, I mean, that's a hard thing to learn when you've worked hard to get where you are, but it is extremely valuable to be able to say, I've decided I'm not going to be as picky. You can do it how you want. This is the results. This is the budget. This is the timeline. And but this is what we want to happen. And I'm not good at this anymore. You do this, right?
Yes.
And so I feel like
That
we're in that stage.
Yeah, and that can only happen if you've leveraged your team properly. When you hire poorly, and there's
Mm,
through no fault of your own, because when you started your
that happens.
business, you didn't get a year-long curriculum about team systems, time, and business models, right? And
Right.
so you kind of fumbled your way through it. When you've hired properly, the people that are working with you, I don't like to say for you,
For
with
sure.
you,
Yeah.
they come batteries included. And
Right.
because they come batteries included, they're like, "Yep, got this."
Yep.
And then they not only build the system, document, build the systems, but then they make sure that everybody else runs the systems, runs according to the systems. So here's what happens. You've hired a team, whatever that looks like. Maybe it's one person, maybe it's 5 people. You've hired correctly. They're working on money generating activities and they've taken things off your plate so you can work on exponential growth activities. They're creating systems which allows you to pull yourself out of the day-to-day operations of your business even more.
Mm.
This means that you gain back your time, which takes us to the third activator, leverage your time. And this is about looking at all this, 6 new hours a day,
Mm.
looking at like, so am I going to eat bonbons? Am I going to go to the gym? Am I going to stay in the day-to-day operations, or shall I use my time for exponential growth activities using my unique, brilliant skills? And that's when everything changes, where we carve out time in your day. And the biggest person getting in the way of that is usually you, right? So it's a big mindset shift, and that's leveraging your time. And we could spend a lot more time here. But now that you've got a team, systems, and you've got all your time back, you can then look at leveraging your business model. And leveraging your business model means that you can go from what is probably most people who are making less than 8K to 10K a month are probably still delivering everything onesies, twosies, hours for dollars,
Mhm.
one. When you shift your business model based on your intellectual property, based on your proprietary system and methodology, more on that in the book
Mhm.
and on the website, you can then shift. I'm actually teaching the Leverage Your Business Model 2-day activator in December. It's our next one, where we take your business model and have you work one to many. So
Mhm.
not only are you working less, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, right? There are countless permutations of how you can do your business in the world, deliver the same, if not better results to your clients and customers without you being the one to hold their hand. When you can leverage your business model, you're working less. So again,
Mhm.
now not only do you have 6 hours back a day, but then you are working even less at the delivery of your clients, and you can have time you have time for 2 times the clients you have now, 5 times the clients you have now, even 10 times the clients you have now. So even if we're just like spending like 10 minutes, 8 minutes talking about these 4 activators, it radically changes your business
Mm.
over the course of 1 to 2 years. And just with that alone, you can get to 50K a month.
Wow.
Just that alone.
Sure.
It's not just about reading it. It's not just about hearing it. It's about being in it, fully implementing it with dozens of other healthily ambitious women in business,
Yeah.
if we're on our own, I have witnessed that especially women talk themselves out of it. So it's about putting yourself in fertile soil, being given what you need, and doing it with other people. That's the best way to do it.
So let's really quick go back to women talk themselves out of it.
Yes. In isolation, there is self-doubt,
Mhm.
especially for women, because we have been conditioned and socialized and bred to not trust our intuition. Not, let me explain you how, what you should do, which often goes against what we believe. And there is something called the law of diminishing intent.
Okay.
If you know anything about the law of diminishing intent, it states that from the time you are presented an opportunity, have a divine download, read a book, go to a seminar, work with a mentor, whatever, and you have this idea, there's this opportunity, the longer you wait to say yes, the higher the likelihood that you will never do it. Researchers say it's about 2 days. And
Oh.
so many women especially will have this opportunity, the client, the idea, the whatever, and at their kitchen table or in their spare bedroom or at their WeWork space or whatever, in isolation, even with a VA,
Mhm.
they're going to talk themselves out of it. What I was so excited about yesterday, I'm not sure I have what it takes.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that I'm going to cut out for it. And that opportunity goes.
Yeah.
But when you are in a community of dozens of high achieving women with heart
Yeah.
who want you to succeed as much as you want them to succeed, and there's love and there's kindness and there's encouragement, and you say,
Mhm.
ladies, I have this crazy idea. And they say, tell me more. And
Yeah.
you explain it, and they say, you can do this, and they hold you lovingly accountable and
Mhm.
they help you implement it. And let's say you have mentors who are helping you every week and
Yeah.
getting you on track, there's nothing you can't do. And then that law of a diminishing intent goes away.
Mm.
You there's no more self-doubt. You just continually put one foot in front of the other. And this
Mm.
is how women succeed with other women to banish the law of diminishing intent and the isolation, the self-doubt that isolation brings.
Well, and I know that we've all experienced that. I mean, I have a workshop that I'm putting out there this next week or this week actually that I was going to put out before, but I got sick.
Mm.
And like I was sick all through Thanksgiving week. And but I have my VA saying, "I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited about this." And then somebody else was like, "I can't wait for this to come out." And I'm like, "Okay, this really is good. I really do need to do." But
And
it
it's
really,
beyond just you.
yeah, but it happens to all of us. It always happens. Or maybe that wasn't such a great idea, or so I'll put a feed.
Who am I? There's already other
Exactly.
people doing this.
Exactly.
I
And
have other things to do.
plenty, or I'm sick, or so it's going to get recorded even though I'm still a little stopped up. It's going to get recorded anyway because it's just really simple. It's just an easy idea for the holidays. And so I just think that's so relevant and so important. And I love that you called loving accountability. In my world, we call it gentle accountability.
Mm.
And I think it's the same concept of women who we don't hold, as a supervisor, people never wanted to hear the word accountable because it meant that there was an outside expectation that you were going to be held to a standard of, right? And it was always a hammer or a stick. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You set your goals. These are yours. You adjust them as you want. We will hold you accountable to what you tell us to hold you accountable for. We will remind you of the brilliance that you have. We will remind you of the things that you do well. So I
There,
love
there is
that.
a there is a line in the Boldheart business documentary. You can look up on YouTube Boldheart business documentary, and there's a 9-minute documentary about the our process. And there's a woman in it who says, "You know what I loved most, Fabienne, is that you gave us the roadmap and a whole community of loving navigators to get us there."
Mm. It's like having it's like having a living map.
It's like you have your plan, you know how to get there, and then a whole community of other navigators, so you're not alone driving cross country.
That's amazing. So I've put that YouTube up there. Again, the website is boldheart.com. And on that, you can find everything. You can find her coaching programs. You can find the email to be on the email list, the book. And then in the show notes of episode 114 of the Intentional Optimist Unconventional Leaders podcast, where you will hear Fabienne's amazing story, is all of the links for everything that she shared with us before, even like how to make $50,000, 50,000 ways, or 50 ways to make money.
50 ways to make money. Yep.
50 ways to make money. So check that out as well. And is there anything that we've left out today?
I think there's a point at which you want to just ask yourself always, what happens if I don't do anything?
Mm.
Will I be happy in 3, 5 years to be in about the same place?
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if I do?
Mm-hmm.
How would it make a difference in my life, in my impact in the world, just my purpose?
Yeah.
And that's the question. What happens if I don't? And what happens if I do?
Mm.
And that's how I like to live my life, and just take chances in that way. And it's worked for me.
And I think that's a beautiful way to end. Thank you so much today, Fabienne, for being on our guest speaker series. And stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, or follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook for all the announcements for all of our other guest speakers. And definitely check out episode 114. Actually, you can have it all with Fabienne Fredrickson. Thank you so much and have a lovely day.
Thanks.